Blessings to Catherine Daly. Big up yourself. Natalia Freeman. Blessings to the Blessed Existence. MC. Carnet Sterling. Blessings. Vanny. Catherine Daly again. Just want to say welcome to Context Matters. And the show today definitely is going to be centered on the philosophy of democracy. Why is it that we need to vote? Well, at this time, you should know more than anybody that the local government election is slated for the 26th of February. It was announced by the Minister of Local Government, Desmond McKenzie. And that being said, we now go into the stage where very important choices will have to be made. Whether it is the changing of the guard or if something ain't broke, you don't try to fix it, is a matter for you. But what I will say to you is, if ever when you have seen ISAT on any platform and the power of the Constitution, and when somebody speaks about equality and equity, and we want to worry about who matters. Remember, I say context matters, so I always say you matter. If you don't matter and you can't look yourself in the mirror and say I matter, then guess what? Nothing matters. So this is the time of year where everybody wants, especially when you're registered to vote, you're the most important human being on the face of this earth. The evidence and proof of your power is in the vote, and this is the time that people are going to show you why it is important to vote. I made a joke earlier when I said, yes, this is the time when I am 100% sure. If you never know where your rent money was coming from, if you never know where your light bill was coming from, if you never know how you were going to survive this month, this is the month. And I want you to appreciate that. Everybody wants your vote. Everybody needs you. You matter. That's why context matters. But I just want to know what your thoughts of it. How are you feeling now? And we will address why do you need to vote. So my first question to everybody is, why do you need to vote? Why vote? So I want some comments, and that's how we're starting off the class today. That is how we're engaging in the education aspects. Greetings, Donna Whitaker, Paulette Punansi, bless up yourself. Legris Beckford, Joan Brown, I see you. So that's my question. Why vote? Why do you think it is important to vote? Before we get into the philosophy of democracy, why vote? Remember, in a local government, elections is upon us. Questions might ask, blessings, Marcia. Questions might be asked, well, what is it that we're going to do? If I vote, it won't matter. It's not going to change anything. But guess what? Your prime minister, Mr. Andrew Holness, he quoted Vibes Cartel. Ghetto youth is a star. If you didn't know, Big Youth said every nigga is a star. I see Big Youth going through the airport, and I see it reported that the first dub plate come from the veteran himself, Big Youth Manly Buchanan, when he says, I pray thee, and why do the Eden rain and queen, and the false prophet imagine fake things and whatever interpretation came of it. So it's that time when your leaders will be the nicest, because they are the beggars and the creatures of the Constitution that need you to either retain power or get into power. So they're well humble right now. They could come at your house and say, move from the door. And they would still say, okay, ma'am, okay, sir. But do not be deceived. Well, Kedin K says, why vote? Because it is our right to do so. And that is correct. The Constitution gives you that right. It is a right that we should not take lightly. It is a right that is necessary. And for those joining me on TikTok, big up yourself. I'm saying a lot today. So as I look and try to see what it is that you're saying, we're dealing with it that way and accordingly. So yeah, that is the true question. The reason for voting, I'm trying to read. People need to vote, and this is coming from Blessed Existence, because it is their day-to-day needs as individuals and the nation overall that should be represented in a way that matters and is in all people's best interest, not just a few. Marva McLean says, I know politicians, them are going to kiss people behind. And then Catherine Daly says, for your democratic rights. Well, what I will say to you is this. It matters. It's your life. Your future depends on how you vote. And two things you're faced with. As I said, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. But if you know that you are existing and your existence is minuscule and you're at the point of being pointless and insignificant because get a people broke and them can't get no work. Na. If you're feeling that, then I will say this to you. You better know where you are due. So let me break it down for you. See, in the United States, they have a good game and it's called football. Well, the quarterback, he will have the ball and he has to throw the ball down the field so he can get what is known as the touchdown. But guess what? Is now the voters are the players because the quarterback for the government is the right honorable, the most honorable Andrew Holness, and he has the football and he doesn't want to fumble. And this is one time when it comes to elections, the quarterback can't run on his own. The supporting cast is going to have to do what they have to do, which is the local government, the councillors, who's going to have to bring home a win for him, and he can't do so without the people. So here it is. If it ain't broke, then there's a touchdown. But if you fumble the ball and you drop, the other team is going to recover, and then suddenly what you have to face with is a future that may be clearer or might be the same, or one that charts its way to the CCJ or the public. And then the question, or Jamaica as a republic under a new government is just a matter for you. But what we do know is if you stay and you do nothing, then you can't complain. And if you saw what was happening in, let me tell you something, so many things changed that the power of media is a beautiful thing. I remember last year, all you heard about was the illicit six. Now, only six I know is the big six on the KFC menu. Nobody talk about that illicit six anymore because for some strange reason, the courts is shutting out the public from the courtrooms because a high profile former politician that is associated with the opposition is charged for murder, and the presumption of innocence. And what about the best interests of the child or the children, that the media cannot know what's happening, and the concept of open justice that the Privy Council oftentimes ensure that the public has access to, the point that they have cameras and live stream marching along with the modern day society where people are able to interact and know what's going on so that they can make mature considerations and be in the know, because knowledge is power. And so justice must always appear to be done and seen. Even though justice is blind, is the people who must see. And fair trial and due process and constitutional rights and all those things we talk about should be all for the people. So you observe, but we must not be distracted by the issue at hand. So although there's some high profile case that has distracted from the key central thing and the markers, is Jamaica is plagued by corruption. It is not limited to one side. But what is happening now? Are you okay with it? Can corruption prevail over the status quo? Do we keep corruption because we are satisfied with we never used to get nothing good, so it's a little bit better, and do we march along? Or do we set a standard for ourselves at the most important time in our lives, when some of us will only be important when it is election, but when 5 years come, 5 years after that, you suffer. Is $13,000 enough for you at minimum wage? Because majority of the voters, that's where they are. 13,000 a week or less. Is that enough for you? Is that sufficient? Do you feel like you have transcended from the arena of subhuman living conditions? Have you escaped that? Did they consider you in all that they have done? These are questions that must be answered when you think about voting. And then there's the issue of vote buying. And we speak about vote buying, and it exists, and politicians say stuff, and then there's criticism, and there is something called selective morality. But the issue is this: if somebody wants to buy your vote, vote. That doesn't preclude you from doing the most important thing when it is your time to vote, and that is to go into the box, go into the space, and make a decision that will affect your future, your generations to come, that will impact. So you say, I have done my part, I have made my mark. This is of utmost importance. And you will definitely need to think clearly as to what it is that I'm doing. So Donna Whitaker, when I made mention of the $13,000 a week, says, wow, that's about 90 US. What can they do with that? Well, let me tell you something. Some money is better than no money. And after living for a very long time in subhuman conditions and poverty plaguing and making an impact on decisions on how you live your life, I can tell you with much clarity, I can tell you with confidence that people are happy to have some money. It gives them an idea of human dignity to not have to beg every week or every time, but living realistically what is hand to mouth. But how is that going to change? It has to change through economic viability. And like somebody asked me, are you going to vote? Yes, I am going to vote. I have to vote. And I will say this: everybody who is on the list, make an impact, leave your mark, change the course of history. Let the Electoral Commission come and say, wow, a minimum of 80% of persons turned out to vote. If you get 80% of the voting population to vote, it would mean that whoever wins has a true mandate and a reflection. So when somebody is going to ask me if I'm going to vote, me no like just run off my mouth, With my one vote and my one voice, I will leave my mark and leave my ink and my fingerprint to say I participated in changing the course of history, in contributing to where my country goes, for the generations that follow, for my issue, for the future of my family. And that is what is important. So yes, I will vote. I won't just talk. I am going to do just that. And the question is, are you going to vote? Are you registered? Will you be able to do that? Somebody said, give him who no want vote. Who is your favorite party? And people are saying many things. So you must know who you want to vote for. And that's the beauty of your privacy, right? You don't have to tell nobody who you want to vote for. Just know at the end of the day, it's not just, oh, I like the prime minister, so therefore I'm going to vote green. Or this thing, I'm a Labourite. Of course I'm going to vote green. I mean, I'm a Labourite. Everything I wear is green. Or I'm a I am a JLP. Of course, $13,000 is enough for me. I'm a JLP. I am saying I am this because I forgot that I am Jamaican. So the thing about it is when you go to do what you are supposed to do, which is vote, you're to substitute that TikTok craze that has caused members of the JCF who ironically is using the very thing that the JCF was awarded for on Twitter, the social media presence, satire, sarcasm. They were punished for saying, I am a police officer. Of course, the criminals are going to escape in nearby bushes. Where else do they go from time immemorial? Even if you're in the heart of New Kingston, criminals escape in nearby bushes. I mean, after all, when they call states of emergencies, all the criminals migrate in nearby bushes and don't go through checkpoints. That's the status quo. It's humor, but we of all times are wrong, are where judgmental is concerned, we forget. And now we get into the social media frenzy, and it is acceptable for young people to twang and said, I am a JLP. Of course my aptitude allows me to say this is what it is rather than forgetting. And I'm imploring the people at this time to say, I am a Jamaican. Of course, I'm going to vote. I am a Jamaican. Of course, I'm going to vote to improve my family life. I am a Jamaican. Of course, I'm going to reject minimum wage as a standard. I am a Jamaican. Of course, I am going to reject corruption. I am a Jamaican. Of course, I want better for my life. I am a Jamaican. Of course, when it comes to NHT, you could have bright for one, put me in a one matches back. Where you take me for? You want to live good? You don't think I want to spread out and feel nice in my house? I am a Jamaican. If me tell you what I want to tell you, see, me good end up pay a $500,000 fine with me $13,000 a week when me get. I'm a Jamaican. Of course, me go speak my mind. I'm a Jamaican. Of course, if you don't brush your teeth, I'm going to tell you. I'm a Jamaican. If you come to me with fire, may I respond. And guess what? I am a Jamaican. I am voting because after me did vote to you for you the last time and you lied to me, you think you can come lie to me again? I'm a Jamaican, and of course, loyalty is important to me. I'm a Jamaican. What matters to me is that no matter what it is, no man is left behind. March along forward. I'm a Jamaican and I want to count. We can do this all over. We can do this from now till February 26th. I am a Jamaican. Of course, I'm going to get purple ink after voting and choosing between orange and green, green and orange. Yes, this is the importance of the vote conversation that we are having right now. And that is what is expected as a Jamaican. I'm a Jamaican. Of course, I like barbecue chicken. I'm a Jamaican. Of course, I will put all your shirts and go on a bus and go in all your campaigns and rallies and take your money and still vote the way I want to vote. That is most important thing is I am a Jamaican. I am going to put action and make it speak louder than words. Nicola Green says, I am voting for good policy, good leader with integrity and transparency. And that's the mandate. If everybody follow Nicola Green, guess what? We don't know what the outcome would be. Because at this level and how our democracy is set up, and before I will define democracy and all of that, is that the person who is serving you is what matters at this time. That is what is important. So if you are satisfied with your counselor, let me tell you this, I am not going to sit here and influence you and tell you who you are to vote for. Surprisingly, I'm going to raise it. I met a young lady whom I would have observed. She is a doctor. She's an educator. I, without getting myself in trouble, I would say that she's competent more than many persons who are serving in the capacity to bring across education in the field. She's a doctor. Similarly, like I will say this without apology. If you're a doctor and you want to be Minister of Health, it makes more sense if you're a medical doctor. than telling the people that you're a doctor and you're not a medical doctor. So it's simple. So I'm gonna leave that. So I've seen in the TikTok space Dr. Dawes and somebody saying, oh, but that's a different, that's for a bigger election. The local government election, I met Dr. Renee Level. She is running in the Portmore division as a counselor in one of the divisions. Portmore, very, very big. That's why they wanted it to be a parish all on of itself. She's running for the Jamaica Labour Party. Would I say to the people in Portmore, don't vote for her because we need to vote out Andrew, and so the people should lose the right to a counselor who is competent and will ensure that the youths them will get a rather ID and farm work rather than take up guns? No, I would never do that. I'm not a hypocrite. So people, when it comes to Dr. Renee Neal, who is on the labor right, she's a labor right, and she's running and asking for representation. What is it that I'm saying? I'm saying without apology, you couldn't overlook her if she is the person that can assist you and make your community better. That is a reality. Now, what I will say is, if you take up yourself as a proper uneducated duncebat like myself and vote for a duncebat, you have a problem. You have a problem if you're just gonna just do it because you want to do something. But I'm gonna say this again. Kevin Wright said democracy is rubbish. Pick the red idiot or the green one. Well, hear me saying if he's a dunce bat, don't pick a dunce bat. Because dunce can't lead dunce and blind can't lead blind. But why can't I be greedy? Anyway, let me leave that one alone. So what I'm saying there, so I am not giving out endorsements. I'm not big youth. I don't do that. I don't go around in airports and give out endorsements. Cute though. But what I will say is you must vote for what matters. So if you're tired of something, the obvious choice is that there must be change. So you don't have to be singing like a slave and say, but I know a change gonna come, because you are gonna make the change because time come, February 26th. So you send a message. Do we still want corruption? And listen, you're laughing at me, you know. I just know my daddy is watching, and listen, I don't care what Uno want to say. I love my father. I love my daddy. So a wise man listen to the counsel of his parents. So I'm just addressing this now because I'm seeing it in the comments. And yeah, if my father, you know, there's no greater pride than knowing that my father is a great man. The honorable big youth, Manly Buchanan. His mother loved him so much she didn't name him for Manly. She never said Norman or she never said Michael. She just make sure say him was Manly Augustus. So Manly is the honorable OD, and he runs into his prime minister that gave him OD. There is nothing or no book or no thing that says to me that my father, he has demonstrated the spirit of the Constitution, the right to freedom of expression, the right to choice, the right to disseminate, the right to do, to exercise freedom of movement, everything. And I'm just making something clear that as an entertainer, to know that my father is able to still do what he does is a blessing from God. So I've seen comments, and I've had local reporters in the local space ask me nonsensical questions as if I would be upset that my father was in the presence of the honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Andrew Holness, who would have put on his page, posted that he ran into a legend and gave him and recognized him and honored him. So people, that is why context matters, because there are people who will turn some of the greatest individual moments and try to put negativity to it. Well, you're dealing with ISAT, and I can tell you that and no day when you wake up that would ever be an issue. But we must not be distracted, because I can tell you this: if tomorrow the King of England was to put out on his social media space a greetings from my father, I don't think it would make a difference to Andrew Holness, because him say, we gonna be a republic. All if me have your grandson at the One Love concert, we're gonna be a republic. What you must exercise is decency and courtesy, compassion, empathy, respect, and recognition for for your elders, and also to people who have achieved what they have achieved, and it must be reciprocated. We can deal with people because although we're men and women, and we're made from the same elements and same metals, some are more valuable than others. Some will be greater than others. So we must never deny the truth and know that you can do anything you want to do. But let me tell you this: we are looking for a better Jamaica, a greater Jamaica. If you have it, bring it forward. Can you account for $1.7 trillion and not say, oh, all of that? I don't mean the thief, all of that. That did not go on from then. No. Are we changing that? Do we want for our kids a fighting chance? Are we going to consider rehabilitation in terms of instead of considering mandatory minimum for children? I was in court today. Yes, people, I was in court today. Even after suspension and all of the things for the distractions that come when it comes to dealing with people and their lives. And I had the most beautiful experience from a judge who roughed me up. You can be afraid of judges, but I can tell you, what you want for your society is for people to look at the individual and not paint with a broad brush, which is what mandatory minimum sentences are. So any government that pushes an agenda of mandatory minimum sentences will never get my vote. Let me make that clear right now. So if you don't believe in second chances, if you don't believe that all the criminals that walk across Jamaica has the potential to become lawyers and doctors and should get that opportunity, you can never be my government. So when you rule with a draconian hand and when you do this, you can't get my vote. When we sit and have a conversation about that, and we're talking about, it involves local government, because there is an intervention that is important that only councillors and people who are on the ground can understand. You can't be sitting in Garden House and you can't be sitting in your ministerial positions and not interact with the people to know what's going on. If it is a young man gets himself in trouble and your counselor don't know who he is, that counselor should never be counselor. If you don't know at the local level who are your constituents, you don't deserve to be a counselor. If you haven't done the canvassing, not just for the votes, but to interact with the people, so that you can disseminate your JPs and your lawyers and your doctors and run your community. Because it takes a village to raise a child. If we're not thinking about that, you can't get my vote. Equally, eyes are if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of person. So don't come and tell me, oh, see through my eyes because the grass green and it too green, we have to get it a little orange and you don't have nothing to offer. Empty barrels make the most noise, and let me tell you something, a whole heap of empty barrel in Jamaica. Here's why. The diaspora would have sent home barrels, and when we take the clothes and stuff out of the barrel and the dime and the letter and the 50-cent stamp, the barrels are empty and we fill it up with water because water still a lock off. We also have it outside in the front of our house because we have to put garbage in it. Garbage in, garbage out. You get the idea. So we have to think about these things. And I'm raising it and I'm talking because I want people to have a full appreciation of what is happening. So you vote for the things you are interested in. So if you are, big up yourself, Queenie, bad, poor, bad, poor, Anthony, me bad, poor. You see, if you're bad, poor, which most of Jamaicans are, So we're gonna we're gonna get away with the filters because Instagram having everybody thinks that them beautiful. No, it's not true. There are ugly people out there. And ugly in the sense that life is not kind to you. So if you fall in that category, do not think that you're voting for loyalty. Loyalty to what? Poverty? Slavery ended and we are still impoverished and incarcerated by poverty. Poverty is the real criminal, and those who are not doing anything to fix it. Local government, big government, next government, sovereign government, president, prime minister, republic, commonwealth. If you are poor, your vote is where you are rich, and you are to do something about that. What is it that what we can do, Mr. Isat? Here's what you're gonna do. Ensure that the people around you will have a fighting chance. Ensure that when the JCF who are not properly paid find a way to make the humanize their position so that they can interact with the people. And I'm taking the most unpopular opinion. And here's why I'm telling you I'm taking the most unpopular opinion. And I want you to appreciate this. Bear with me. Should not have been sanctioned. I think we should learn to deal with sarcasm, entertainment, anything that will humanize, especially an office that has to interact with um, the public, so that people can say, I can be that. I too can be a police officer. I too am human. I too can pretty much delve into the differences when it comes to what my life is, when it comes to interacting and having people feel who we are. Because guess what? You just sanction them. So I can tell you, you might have lost those votes because you treat them wicked. And at the end of the day, government is not just party. So when the government make policies and things happen under their government, people are going to say government wicked. And there's no there. Realistic. We have to be able to think about that. A realistic standpoint to say, we are voting for our interests. We are voting to ensure that we definitely are going to get something better. What is the better? Look at who your candidate is and ensure that they're serving you. They are your servants. They are the creatures and you are the humans. This is a time when nobody's going to say ISAT is inappropriate for saying you are the creatures of the Constitution and you serve me. Come and beg me for my vote, you creature, and I will consider if I should dip my human hand in ink for you. Beg me, convince me. That is why context matter. Cause I know me hype and I know my boss. Cause them want my vote. It's sweet me. No blessed existence. I'm not on Starlink. Where I'm set up, I'm not using Starlink. But leave me alone, please. Please to leave me alone. Uh, so so that is the reality as it is right now. So um somebody said, go, good day, Isa, Jess Carter. Big up yourself, Dion. Everybody teasing me says is not my internet, I spitting hot fire right now on Reggae Global Radio about how to rock the vote. Because once upon a time last year, if you quote cartel, yeah, you're gonna pay about $500,000. Yeah. This year, the prime minister get up and say, "Yo, ghetto youth a star." All of a sudden, ghetto youths are a star. Every ghetto youth is a star. Every nigga is a star. All of a sudden, nobody's going to have to pay a fine for that, I can tell you. So selectively, dancehall should be banned. Dancehall, we don't want that. Let's find popcorn and shut off his show. But right, rhythm all like, if you ride like lightning, then you crash like thunder. If you want a dub plate, check me. It's all in life. Vote for time come and keep the strive. You know what I'm saying? But y'all ain't paying me for that. So I mean, I ain't gonna give you all of that. So if it is that so I'm understanding right now that it appears my internet is having hiccups. So let me know if it has gotten any better, because I did make some changes. I'm feeling like Mr. Rattigan right now. But I assure you, I am assuring you this. Somebody said, "We were you reimbursed of your five?" No, 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 no. We're not gonna talk about that. We're talking about the vote right now. I just raised something about why context matters, why it is important to know what you're voting for, identifying selective morality, identifying and criticizing, because it's now you have the power. Now it's time to ask the questions. No one has to wonder if the presumption of innocence is real. Why is it that we are doing why is it that we are criminalizing? Why are people losing positions before they go to trial? Why are cases being tried in the media, and then why selectively are cases banned from the media? This is a time to think about it. This is a time to think about equality. This is a time to say, if you feel like you're a human being, this is a time to say, am I included in the society that is marching forward? And so you have to know that. So tell you they will be doing right. And this is Marva McLean. They will say, listen, their meetings have been held, and parties have come together, and they say, let our powers combine. Go out there. It's just 1 month we have to beg them. 1 month alone we have to beg these despicable human beings. But when they give us our vote, we have 5 years to misuse them and deceive them and treat them like they are nothing. Yeah, well, they didn't really say that, but it might sound like that, because like we say, actions speak louder than words. Uh, Kevin, I'm having internet issues. We need you. Rattigan gonna laugh at me Saturday, but we press on nonetheless. Um, so blessings, Lorna Miles. I see you. Good evening. So notice, I am just talking and freestyling, because that is why voting matters. So when we break it down, I'm gonna tell you this. I have put two things on the table. If it's not broken, don't try to fix it. And I've put the thing. Time come. Time come to get up out of poverty. Time come to be included. Time come to be a human being. Time come to reject $13,000 and try to do better for your life. Time come for opportunity. And well, time the opportunity, wherever it comes from, now that time come, is a matter for you. I'm just putting that out there. So you will not hear on this platform me telling you who to vote for. Me just I gotta tell you, say, when it comes to the issues, let me give you a proposition. If I wake up tomorrow and the current government has this opportunity, if I wake up tomorrow and states of emergencies wasn't a crime fighting tool that would disenfranchise people, and we can always challenge the Bail Act because there are things in there that don't make sense, and I believe is unconstitutional. Pre-charge bail is should never ever be in existence and stuff like that. And those things where you go to the table and those things are fixed. If I would believe that rehabilitation would be the mandate of any government, an idea that, especially when it comes to youth offenders, I don't care what you are charged for. You don't put people in a position where they won't be able to become the best versions of themselves without having to be as an extraordinary human being. Yeah. So you see, I can tell you this. I am extraordinary. I'm what you call a superstar. My father said every nigga is a star, and I come and hear the Prime Minister say today, every ghetto youth is a star. Quoting Vibes Cartel. Mm-hmm. That's another thing to talk about. But if those things were to change, I am not a hypocrite. I can tell you this. The government who is now in power would not need to be changed, because I believe that corruption can be fixed. Weed out the six. You hear how it rhyme? Get rid of the tricks. Grow some integrity. Have some compassion. Believe that the human beings in this country are humans. Believe that I matter. Believe that they matter. Believe that we all matter. Believe that we're important. That's a high bar to set. So if those things is not happening, everybody know where I fall. And I believe that every child of this nation should get an opportunity to be the best representation if they so desire. And so, do you give another person a chance to do something because what is there not working? The answer to that is yes. The answer to that is yes. I mean, I could say some other things like I was undecided when it came to who is what and what is where, but then I saw Lisa Hanna and her campaign, and she was in the black spandex, and she reminded me of Olivia Newton-John from Greece. And I said, oh Lord, Lisa have the answers, but I hear that she's not going to be a part of the future of that party. So how do you deal with that? Well, I'm not going to get into that. The private sector don't like me, none at all. I'm too black. Somebody said, time come, let the PSOJ and the Asians vote JLP. None will. That's a matter, JJ. But I will say this. When it comes to inclusion, that is important. And inclusion includes loyalty. So anywhere in any space, if you're easily discarded, you should probably think whether you need to be a part of something that will discard you like you're a piece of garbage. So it's a lot of things to think about when it's time to vote, because actions really speak louder than words, and that's a matter for you. But I am empowered and excited about just the opportunity to participate and vote. That is really what is important, and using using my platform to empower people, to let them know, listen, if you big up yourself, Bush Banton, broken on money, but you know, response to the life entity, one pressure for your fans. And when you're there foreign, you did important. But we're gonna substitute the words from when you're there foreign. But when you did when you was the MP and when you was the councillor, you did important. And now you have back the work. All of a sudden you have humility. No, go so. We're listening, we're watching, and we're voting. We're rocking the vote. And there are people from the diaspora and all over. It's not just ISAT that are using their platforms to bring attention. So you can't just put misinformation. And when people criticize you, you go around and say the honorable discharge, or they shouldn't have leadership positions, them chat too much, them this. And yeah, I'm a Rasta, but I'm a rock star too. I'm just putting that out there. And so, as a voter, you're supposed to feel important and really adopt the words of your prime minister and say, yeah, man a star, woman a star. And you must have the freedom to say, I am a police officer. Of course, criminals are going to escape in nearby bushes. I'm a police officer. Of course, my uniform is new and blue. I'm a police officer. Of course, I'm not going to wear the body cam right now. I'm a police officer. Of course, I have to use my phone. I use my own credit because they don't give me a phone for use. I'm a police officer. Of course, I'm going to have to improvise. Yeah, I'm a school teacher. Of course, if you don't teach them, they're fully done. I'm a teacher. Of course, I'm going to have to migrate so I can get better salaries. These are realities. You have to make light of a serious situation. And I can tell you this, I am a Jamaican. Of course, crime is the biggest monster that we have. And this very crime includes corruption. The very crime includes poverty and not changing that. So with all of these things, we must have conversations between now and the time that you dip your finger in the ink as to what is the best way forward. So then when we go to the polls, we know it's simple. Are you doing what you're supposed to do? Do we like the fact that persons misuse and twist words and tell lie on people, and we don't have a political ombudsman, and we want to put it in the electoral office so people can speak about bias from the electoral office, and once again, I'm going to say it nicely this time, rush things in breach of the Constitution. Are these things that we want? Do we want leaders that just do what they want and don't care? Do we want that? The answer to that is no. So I'm put it that so Marva McLean said, Uno politicians, them all, oh, politicians all have sweet mouth. If you was in Trinidad, them would have said, pam pam padam pam, sweet mouth, pam pam padam pam, sweet mouth. But then again, me saying that, it's not an indication or inviting anybody to commit acts of fellatio. I'm just responding to the messages. Someone has said that no politicians valued ghetto youth, and no politicians value ghetto youth until they need votes. But that's what I've been saying for almost 1 hour in having this conversation with you. Carnage Sterling says it's not looking good with so many millions gone missing for the people of our great country of Jamaica. Yeah, but it's also not looking good for you. You're going to take up chair and beat woman and then marry her. It's not good that allegedly you're taking up gun and you're discharging it. You're discharging the wrong things in the wrong orifices. I'm just saying these things don't look good. But those things aren't what you are voting for. You're voting for the best political representation, and you must not paint with a broad brush. You must selectively ensure that who you vote for will make a difference for the masses, the greater good for the greater number of people. And it is an individual good. We must remember that there are people who, that when they were unhappy with leadership in their parties, they crossed the fence. When they crossed the fence, did they consult with their workers, with their masters being you, the people? Do you just get up and change from an orange shirt and put on a green shirt and then go to a podium and say, yes, how I understand English language is this. So when somebody said, don't fight, right? And wait till after, because then you can go back. And it means that you can kill the person after the election. Lies. Is that the type of leadership that you want? Marred in deception and lies? No. But can you say, oh, I don't like what's going on, so I ask for certain things and I don't get it, so I just cross the floor for my own selfish gains? Is that what's happening? Reject that. So we are looking for accountability, integrity, honesty, probity, declaration, disclosure, and transparency. If you are in the public space, your shame tree is supposed to broke down. You're not supposed to have no shame. You take your hits when you get them, your licks when they come, and keep your tricks in your bag. Tricks are for kids, you silly rabbit. That's what we're talking about. That's the change that we're talking about. That's what we want. And this thing about empty promises. Jeez. I think I was on one of those social media platforms, and then man said the woman I pressure him for the barrel. So you know him do? Him just get an empty barrel and ship it and leave it in her name. And she did show up to customs ready for clear the barrel. And when she cleared the barrel for the $6,000, not in there. Yeah, because you see that empty barrel, empty promises, nothing feel like you voting. Wait 5 years to vote, and after 100 days, you don't get what you think was coming to you. But let me tell you this. When I go in my vehicle and got up this morning and I said, okay, I want to go to Clarendon and I'm in Kingston. I went on the highway and the highway was so nice. There were no bumps. And I said, boy, Andrew, you're going good. What a good thing, broke and pop down and now suffer. All when they suspend me, I never want me in them court. The Constitution and all that is good gave me a stay, and I was able to continue doing what I'm doing. So Those persons who posted in the media, no, I'm not living on the gully bank. God is good. And I said, but I'm enjoying prosperity. I'm not a pauper. So I said, if I continue to climb to the upper echelons of society, then I can discard those who are not in the upper echelons of society. And maybe I should abandon KFC for filet mignon. And as this go on, maybe I can have some nepotism and have some friends that says we should be mindful and discard the Constitution and just ensure that I am okay and the rest of the people suffer for. Who are they? What do they know? They're a bunch of miscreants. But that's not me. So there are a plethora of things because no country can survive, especially a growing nation, a beautiful nation like Jamaica with majority beautiful people. I'm not making any representations for the ugly ones. I'm talking about the beautiful ones. Majority of us are. And no, I said us, I'm including myself. And what we want is for us to all become the best versions of ourselves. But more than that is that we don't suffer. The beauty of when somebody says, can I get some money? Because they are the beggars, that you have it to actually give to them. That's what we want. So is roads enough? That's a matter for you. Is corruption okay? That's a matter for you. Are the candidates that are put up to replace the ones in existence, are they of the ilk and listen, man, it's a matter for you. I'm not trying to influence nobody. What I will say is, I'm going to repeat it again. I have talked to counselors on the green side. I approve of some of them. I've talked to counselors and I've met counselors on the orange side. Mr. Byfield from St. Mary, unforgettable. I'm calling his name because he's memorable, as equally memorable as Dr. Renee Level from the Jamaica Labour Party. Byfield is from the People's National Party, one in St. Mary and one in Portmore. And guess what? When I dip my ink, me can't vote for none of them. So me not even know upon the day of the councillor. Me no know, me never see my councillor in a Delroy Chuck constituency. Me no know who you be. I do not know you. Yeah. So when it comes to voting, the writing is on the wall. That is an album by Destiny's Child. Yeah. So anyway, that says what we have to, that says about how you're to vote. Because I could call the names over and over, and I could have conversations about counselors, and know your counselor, know your people, know how you are going to rock the vote. Did you even meet your representative? Did you ever engage who the new person was? Is 1 month enough? Less than a month? Is 25 days enough to canvass and know your representative, to give them 5 years of making decisions for you? Are the potholes in your roads deep enough? Yeah. Are the sidewalks smooth enough? Are the shops does the shop have goods that you can pay and purchase? I can't tell you to get Lasco milk because you could end up where Munchie, in the Munchie and Mid City buckle. But let me leave that alone. But what are you eating? Will I see you in the KFC line after the election? Long after you get some for vote? No. We have to ask these questions. So that I will say to you, my friends, is how we are to vote and why we must vote. I can ask questions day in, day out, but remember, this is the local government election. It not have nothing to do with who the MP and who the people are. The people who you interface with, which are your counselors, which can deal with your needs. If you are a farmer, did your counselor make sure you get your RADA ID? Ask if no, is not a good counselor. Discard them. Did your counselor help you with the back to school? January had 74 day plus 2 in it. Did your counselor assist you with the rent? Because the $13,000 is not enough, especially when $1.7 trillion and billions, million, quadrillions dollars missing. It's not enough. Were they doing their jobs? You must answer that question. And strangely enough, this is for both sides. So you must know where the balance lies. Is it that who has the majority? Does that matter to you in light of the fact that it is the individual counselor who must do what they must do? These are questions that you must ask. So we are up on the first hour. Yeah. And I am happy to say that after the break, you're tuned into Reggae Global Radio, and we have some commercial obligations, advertising obligations that we're going to take care of. But I'm going to talk about what is a democracy and why power lies in the people, and why, when I tell you about Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, why you understand why these demigods feel like they matter more than you. All right? So stay tuned. So that is that. So calligraphy said, blessed existence. I was always taught constituents are very important, but maybe it's only a foreign. We still have no bridge yet. They're boasting madness. All right. Well, you have to tell me where that bridge was. I didn't see it. Abina said, good evening and happy Black History Month, ISAT, and all on the live. Yes, it is Black History Month. And we're voting. What is important is, especially in the Jamaican space, Black history is every day. So I could have a whole show on that, which I will do sometimes, about this thing about history and whether history needs to be black or white, and whether the shortest month is sufficient, and all the things that come with that. But we certainly will deal with that. Now, when one looks at our politicians, this illustration, it can't get any better. So you see, we as a people, it's a matter for you. I have put in what I believe is a demonstration of what the political climate looks like. If I need to make it bigger, you let me know. But I'm going to leave it up there and ask for your comments. But I will describe it for those who are listening and don't have the time to watch. So here we have two puppies who are fighting, and they're fighting over. I'm putting it into Context. Keisha Mackenzie says, happy Reggae Month. Yes, happy Reggae Month. This is the month where Bob Marley movie come out February 14th in theaters everywhere. But I know all you aristocrats would have already seen it in Jamaica already, and know what happened in the movie. Either way, it's a nice month for that movie to come out. It is also in Reggae Month a celebration as they appeal before the Privy Council of Jamaica's National Treasure Vibes Cartel, Sean Storm and Kiera Jones and Andre St. John. They have their appeal on February 14th and 15th. So I think after 2024, Valentine's Day will have a brand new meaning, because Bob Marley, well, he did say, is this love, is this love, is this love, is this love that I'm feeling? Yeah. And some people don't want to wait in vain for your love. So the movie come out the right time, right? And it's the year when those who are in will be out. So that's what we're looking at. National treasure. Yes, Keisha, national treasure. You know, to be a national treasure, you actually have to do something in terms of nation building and influence on the international stage. You must actually be a star to have that type of contribution and oomph and je ne sais quoi. But I'm asking for comments from those who are in a position to see the photo. Let me enlarge it a little bit and hoping that people can see it. So my description now. So the two puppies, one brown and one great, one white or gray, depends on the context, depends on perspective, depends on the device that you're using. So these puppies are fighting, and in comes the politician, i.e., the third dog, and he proceeds to have his pleasures. And while they fight, the government does what it does best. Yeah. And he then has both who would be the voters, and he has had his way with both, or she has had her way with both, depending on how you look at it, because we're in the time of inclusion. And after that, the fight continues for the scraps, and the politician walks off and says, because voting done, hear the response: stop the fighting, you two. I can add some more and say, in fact, I will call the commission and put out a order to say, lock up everybody who is fighting, because guess what? You have all already been, as Bernard would say, upped. So that's really what it is. But your interpretation of the photo, I wait on you before I proceed to tell you guys what democracy is and use my last hour to speak of it. And if there are any questions for me, feel free to ask them and I will answer them. I'm looking at the comments and interacting. Blessings. Well, the key thing, is whatever you call them. Somebody said they're the two dogs are JLP and PMC supporters and they're fighting. What are they fighting over, Joe Forbes? Keisha says Democrat and Republican supporters. In all government, the two dogs represent, the two puppies represent the people. And the thing that they're fighting for is the resources of the country, whether it be work, whether it be opportunity, whether it be prosperity, whatever it is, the thing that they are pulling with their teeth is the resources of the country. Mind you, the people are also resources. Um, Janet says, either way we are hooked. Now, Malivon says, your title date is showing the second of the first. Oh, right. Yeah, I'm still not able, I still don't remember that I'm supposed to change 23 to 24. And I must remember that I must stop living the past and yeah. You know that song. Not quoting Beanie Man right now. Keisha says, you're blind, you're behind 1 year. Thanks for that. I'll make haste to fix that. And the politicians' efforts during our distraction. Well, that's the interpretation. And this is why context matters, because that's exactly what we're talking about. And we must decide, because whether do we even need politicians? Because all that is going on, and after the election, if you're still in the same position that you were in before, it will make sense you did vote. But if you don't vote, you see, I would not be a part of the distractions. Now, Megawatt is telling me that I gone back into time. Full speed ahead here. Thank you. One little typo and I'm ready for beat me up over the date. Um, Joe Forbes says, like you said, Isaac, they're fighting off scraps because at the end of the day, once they vote, the vote is received. They got nothing substantive, and that is the best interpretation of what it is. So you see, as a matter of democracy, when it comes, do not be distracted. Do not be um, sidelined by issues that cannot advance your reality. That is just simply the truth of the matter. You must be in a position to advance yourself. So, going into the meat of the matter, I want to now speak to you about um, what is democracy, and that is definitely what we need to look at the moment. What is democracy? So let's start off by dealing with the word. So the word democracy comes from the Greek word demos, and it means people, and kratos, which means power. So democracy can be thought of as power of the people, a way of governing which depends on the will of the people. So in a nutshell, democracy means ruled by the people, as contrasted with rule by a special person or group. It is a system of decision making in which everyone who belongs to the political organism making the decisions is actually or potentially involved. So they all have equal power, equality of arms. So make no mistake, one cannot say that the politicians are superior. And I love to say this: when you take up the Constitution, all government workers are referred to as creatures of the Constitution. The constitutional office that they hold is the office which empowers them. They are your servant. Right now in election, they're saying, let me serve you, because you live in a free and democratic society where it must be demonstrably justifiable in that free and democratic society for the creatures of the Constitution, which make up the state, to abridge, infringe, or breach your constitutional rights. So your right to vote is paramount to your existence and why you should vote. No, I can tell you this. There are a lot of persons who critique um, democracy. But you see, what I have defined is the philosophy of democracy. Because with the idea that it is the people who have the power, it would then mean that the people who fall into service must be extraordinary people, even though the Constitution allows everybody to put themselves up. You can't sit down and make the blind lead the blind because you said things like this. My spirit take you. I'm like the one that call them live, them not daddy. Because sometimes it's the daddy who have the answers. Or we don't make decisions because of race, class, culture, ethnic origin, or societies built up on out of many one. But what the representational class must never be is idiots, is unqualified. And I'm not using qualification to talk about university, because I am the first to tell you is whole heap of people see them way through the university, walking around with C degrees and don't have no sense and trying to learn as they go. And not because you walk out of the university with a great degree in your educational pursuit excludes you from being an uneducated idiot or a dummy. I've said in many spaces that where it is when it comes to cooking, me is a big buffoon. A big dunce. Bad dunce. Bad uneducated. Send me the bag. Fully dunce. You don't need to go and publish and print a fully bright bag for me. When it comes to cooking, that's where I stand, and I have a lot to learn there. But KFC solves that problem for me. Mind your business. But if you're not minding your business and you want to assist ISAT, feel free to send him a big 6. All right? All barbecue. Thank you. So when we look at that reality, we must now try to appreciate the idea of democracy. Because here's my critique of democracy before I get into what Socrates has said and what Plato thinks and what Aristotle thinks. I want to tell you something. Democracy can cause the danger of democracy is that we can have persons who end up ruling us because we vote for people who are not genuine, not honest, not qualified, not competent, but because they're good socially. Socially meaning they are social butterflies and they can sell salt to a snail and ice to an Eskimo. They can do that. And because they can do that, they are allowed to scam you, and a whole bunch of scammers end up into the political arena. A whole bunch of nincompoops, and they can't even come up to a podium and put 2 sentences together that make sense. But they get to ride on the backs of great men like Andrew Holness and Mark Golding. Don't care if you want to upset with me. We're not going to take away the reality that your prime minister is a great man, and your prime minister at this time on the shirts and on the backs. You look on all of the flyers. See me here? I give you Dr. Renee Neal level. I give you. Yeah? And on the other side, another great man, the leader of opposition, Mark Golding. And he says, I give you Mr. Byfield out of St. Mary. So these councillors are riding on your love for the leader of opposition and the prime minister. So I can tell you this, if them don't love the prime minister and he's not anointed like Big Youth say, we know the result of the local government election. And if they love Mark Golding, then it doesn't matter that I tell you that Mr. Byfield is out of St. Mary is a competent and great man in his own right. Like I just said about Dr. Renee Level, she's a great woman, especially Jamaican people with dunce and foo-foo, and we need education to liberate ourselves out of poverty and out of just socially uneducated, moving backward mentality, unable to exercise critical thinking. It could never be on the basis that because I like Andrew Holness or Mark Golding, I am going to put my ink and just vote for whoever them put up, parachuting and put in. So I would say this, at a minimum, we should want our councillors to brush them teeth, comb them hair, bathe, look presentable, boot no lean. We want these things. We want them to be able to have beautiful speaking. We want them to be able to articulate. We want them to be able for sure so the little C degree that some of them get and actually can use it. We want representation. We want people like when you go in the bank and the lady and the man who is about 85 that managed to trick the whole world from them is 1 to 85 and can't read and write. And them always say, I left my glasses. Read this for me. I'll sign it for me too. Yeah, they need representation, people who they can trust. So what's happening in some of those banking institutions where you don't even have a bank card and online banking and $5 million coming out? We need representation. We need advocacy like Fitz Jackson that is fighting the banks for the people. But we need our councillors to join into that. That is what we need. But our democracy says that the people who must represent us may not be the people we like. It must be the people who can do the job. So we don't take away people's legacy and because of party lines and loyalty, unjustified loyalty. If we want what is better for our nation, we're going to do the right thing and we're going to vote for what matters in your local area. So that when we have our mayors and when we have our councillor meetings, the nonsense that go on will cut out. We are in the modern world. We are in a place where social media is right in front of you. You don't get to say the cow jumped over the moon and the moon wasn't out because it was daytime and it's sunlight. You don't get to say that anymore. We are going to fact check you. And people are so afraid of fact checking that they start to say that, hey, we don't want the media in the space because the media may very well hear and know things and educate the public. That's why context matters. We're educating each other now. Mojo shall remain unbothered and says, greatness is created nor defined by one's title nor the semblance of power. How is that power and title being exercised and or achieved? I sometimes have to wonder. So you're wondering, so that is in response to me saying that your prime minister is great. Well, let me tell you something. Once upon a time, before you're prime minister, it took a very long time to get to Montego Bay, to get to Mandeville and all of that. If nothing else, there's also a highway going the south coast. If nothing else, the man built road, and the man built matches box houses when people never did have none. So if you don't think that is great, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm not advocating for him. I'm just not taking anything away from him. What I can tell you is, me not ask crime. Me not ask Christ, him can't fight crime. That's a matter for you. Nor will I take anything away from Mark Golden either, because he too is a great man. A sophisticated one. Him think him can DJ, but I don't think so. But him rootsy. And in patois is that reminiscent of the uptown people that say, get away, what are you talking about? I'm talking patois and you're here saying that I can't talk patois. This is my patois. Patois. You understand? The pantomime style. Not even like a Miss Lou patois, but him doing him thing. He's a Jamaican. I mean, I'm a Jamaican. Of course I'm going to talk patois from uptown, Upper St. Andre patois. But if those are the criteria, those are the things you laugh at. But what is undeniable, if crime is your issue and you want to walk free, guess what? We have some things to talk about. But anyway, we're not talking about them. I was just addressing them because they are giving you, they have decided who are going to represent you in the local government election. And if you're a simpleton like me, it's an easy thing. If we were like in America where you vote for all the people and the prime minister or the president separate and all of that, it's easy, when I don't know people, all I do is look on the picture and say, this person look good, you have my vote. Because me not like ugly people. People get vexed because I say that. So in the absence of knowing who you are voting for, what will be your criteria? Will it be the man that says, yes, every ghetto youth is a star, but also all of them must go up in the truck back? That's a matter for you. Or do you want to say the man that says, time come, if you want that. But is a brain box, bright and articulate, is a matter for you. But it has to be more than them. One of the biggest problems that the prime minister has right now, maybe if he could be in all the ministries, things would be different. But his cast in his movie, some of them is failing. So it's just a matter for you, including those in information that put out misinformation and is exposed to defamation. That's a matter, but that's another thing. Now, I'm going to delve into so people are disagreeing with me, some agreeing with me. I'm Marcia McKenzie says, pretty or ugly, don't we all humans? Of course, but are we talking about representation? Let me remind you of who the most erudite, beautiful goddess of Jamaica, Miss Lisa Hanna, is. Sometime, I think it was in 1993, she came onto the stage and she says, "Good evening, world." And ever since, Popeye's chicken nice, Krispy Kreme nice, Sessa nice, everything nice. Jano say we nice. So one cannot deny that beauty with a purpose has its benefits. But I'm not going to be distracted. I'm entitled, as a matter of freedom of expression, to my opinion, and you're free to disagree with me. That is why context matters. So we're not generalizing, because I didn't say all, I said some. And in terms of when you do not have the facts and the information, what is the criteria that you're going to use? Andrew Holness says, "I give you Dr. Renee Level." And Mark Golden says, "I give you Byfield out of St. Mary." I can tell you about Montego Bay as well, but I don't want nobody say I'm playing favorite, so I just pick two. Nordster says, I'm not gonna draw me out to read some of these comments. All right, so this is where the show has gone, but let me just tell you now. If you think I am controversial, because I know a lot of people would have said, you know something, I do every time Isaac use the word ugly, him just turn me off. I don't know, because that's the point. Ugly is not attractive, so naturally it will turn you off. I'm not saying that I'm ugly, because anyway, listen, Paulette, why is your name Punansi? We have to have another conversation about that. Not reading your comment. I just want to talk to you nonetheless about how Socrates viewed philosophy. Well, here it is. We know that democracy is direct leadership. Power is placed in the hands of the people. Um, it can take two main shapes: direct democracy, where the citizens make decisions themselves, or representative democracy. That's what we're dealing with, and that's what we've been talking to for the last 1.5 hours. Um, so elected officials make decisions on behalf of the citizens. So I was saying the criteria for decision making, should it lie with people who we don't know? Are we going to let somebody whom you've never seen, never spoken to, be the person who will make decisions for you, including crossing the floor when it is convenient for them to do so? Absolutely not. In fact, I can speak of one. Well, I'm not calling names, but you cross the floor, you criticize and you disenfranchise and you hate and you bad mind yourself, and then you find yourself over there thinking you're going to win the seat. I'm not a gambling man, but you won't. Now, most modern democracies operate with some form of representative democracy, such as the United States, Jamaica, United Kingdom, just to name a few. So direct democracy, citizens had a direct and active role in the government, but this was easier back then than today, because societies and states made the population smaller, and the definition of citizens was more exclusive. We have a small society, but we are not Barbados. So when you see Barbados striving with them 300,000 people, Rihanna and Mia Motley, you can appreciate why it is so much easier for them to become a republic. It's so much easier for them to have Rihanna. And don't get it twisted, Rihanna, look out, because we have Jada Kingdom. Hey, Big Lip, how you doing? And we have Steph London. We know do that. We have Shensia, we have Spice. So we out here, we representing. Nah, come on. Now, what Socrates did though was that he had some concerns over majority rule. And like I said, the greater good for the greater number is always what we look for, but majority rule is not all. The greater good can be a problem. So imagine you are embarking on a sea voyage. So it will be a long journey and the seas could be stormy and the trip is dangerous. Just ask Mr. Jonah. He got swallowed by a whale because him did stubborn. So this year is telling you the best way to vote. And if you want to be if you want to be stubborn and make dangerous choices and play Russian roulette, is a matter for you. But who would you want to make the decisions when you're on a boat, similar to what was happening with Jonah? Who you want making the decisions? So obviously, would you want anyone on board or you want the captain with training? That is the question. And I can answer it for you. You're going to want the captain. If you was in a plane and we're up there and the intercom come on and says, ladies and gentlemen, the captain has just died and first pilot does not have the requisite training to land this plane. Is there anybody who can fly? I know all of you would ask ISAT to go up in there, but just like KFC, same rule apply. So you, same rule apply. Can't cook, can't fly. You would be in problem. So don't vote for me. Vote for the person, the captain, the person who is competent. That is what needs to be done. And that's what I'm positing to you, that the person must have the capacity and the training. For instance, it is not rocket science that when it is that the PNP is putting up a Dr. Dawes, a medical doctor who is trained in the field and has the experience, that is apples and orange to the current Minister of Health. So the onus will be on the current Minister of Health to say why he is better than a medical doctor with the training. And it is not just political acumen. When it comes to specialized ministries, you want the person with the competence to be able to navigate in certain situations. So when it comes to accountability for the best use of the money to benefit the people, we don't hear that $800 billion is missing and unaccounted for, swept away by saying, oh, it's just a little COVID and we did whatever. Anyway, although many view democracy as an ideal form of government because its citizens gives a say, whether through their own actions or those that they elected, Socrates, he believed that this wasn't as good as it appeared. And in using a similar case to the ship story, he argued that voting either directly or for representative action required a skill and wisdom that not everyone has, and giving those people without the skill the ability to vote could lead to the equivalent of a societal shipwreck. So you don't just vote for people because you like them and vote for people because you know them. For instance, if you like ISAT, don't put him in Ministry of Cooking. Everybody I gotta have colic. Everybody who know I got dead for hungry. Because all me I got feeding upon is KFC. Nepotism, call KFC first. That's not an expertise area, and I'm trying to bring home the point so that you understand that. So for those of you who like me, that's not a place you could put me. Ministry of Cooking. No, not happening. If there were such a ministry, I would humbly decline it. Coming up frightened over position. If you can't walk away from position, if you can't do what you're supposed to do. So Socrates, as I said, he feared democracies would elect demagogues. And I'm just leaving it for you, the people, to tell me if you think that demagogues are the ones who are now running our country. So let me just see here, because I know it's whole heap of people laughing at me. JJ says that's why our ship is sinking. Wrong MP in jobs they've got no training about. Exactly. All health ministries must volunteer for 6 weeks as a nursing assistant. And Anna Keisha Combs says, now remember the country in the world, the people voted for Trump and he wasn't qualified, but he voted president. I'm going to answer you, see, Anna Keisha. Don't tell any lie on Donald Trump. He was qualified. He's a businessman. He's a man who never had to pay taxes when everybody had to do it. And he's a shrewd businessman. And he has competence. You don't become a billionaire overnight because you are inexperienced. He ran a business. And I can address it further to say that imagine somebody who never even know for sell a orange on the sidewalk get up and talking about they are controlling and running your finances, has never weathered the storm through a business. That is the heights of nonsense. So when somebody says to me that Donald Trump was inexperienced, he had years of experience and he built an empire all over the world. He has his name on it, and he was able, as a shrewd businessman, to deal with nations that the United States was not dealing with. Don't let media trick you. And I'm not making any campaign for Donald Trump. I cannot even vote in the United States. But let me just make that clear. Context matters. So when you say somebody has no experience, that's like you saying Dr. Dawes has no experience, but he's a medical doctor that works in the field. So he would know if the hospital need a machine. He would know if you need to build a hospital in Portmore and how to deal with the highways. He would know that. All he needs is the opportunity. So let's get back to what I'm saying. So when a demagogue is a type of political leader who relies on prejudices, listen, false promises, and charisma to manipulate voters into choosing them. So the term arose in Greece in the 5th century BCE, right around Socrates' time, and it is often used negatively. So Socrates himself was extremely worried that the democratic format would give rise to a demagoguery. So just as he feared majority rule could lead to misinformed voting, he feared that those running for office themselves would lack the wisdom needed to lead and might use their elected positions for personal gain rather than the common good. So given the demagogues could be destructive in ancient Greece, like Cleon, whose brutal rule nearly destroyed Athenian democracy, it may be that Socrates' concerns were well founded. And Socrates is a man from long time before Jesus. And his very concerns is taking place right now in modern societies. People who run for office themselves lack the wisdom needed to lead and might, is a matter for you, might use their elected positions for personal gains rather than the common good. The common good is that the quality of education must cause us not to say that international communities saying Jamaican picnic don'ts. Embarrassing. Yeah? While money is being missing from the Ministry of Education. People should never go hungry in this country. Not when fruit's on the tree, but no, perennial larceny is more important than ensuring that nobody is hungry. Is ensuring that no child left behind. Is ensuring that no human don't go to them bed at night without eating a proper meal. When people go to them bed hungry, because they must be so busy them forget to eat, not because they cannot find food. Not in a country where $1.7 trillion has been missing between both administrations. So are we electing demagogues? Are we electing people unqualified and people who lack the morality, who misinform the voters? People who manipulate voters, make false promises in manifestos and lie to you? It's a matter for you. So Socrates had that, and the irony is that when you have these concerns and you voice it, you are condemned by what is known as their democratic system. And they will say that you should not be an attorney. They will say that you should not speak. They should say that although there is freedom of expression, you should not be able to talk and influence and interrupt all that is going on. You should not speak. And if you speak in a way that, even if you're right, offends the wrongs that they do when they do it, it is a problem. That is that idea of democracy. And Socrates, who was labeled a gadfly because he didn't partake into the dummyism that was taking place in his time, he was condemned by a democratic jury. and put to death. So while Socrates was distrustful of this democracy, it is important to remember that he had bad run-ins with the institutions. And ultimately, it was a democratic trial, as I said, that resulted in his death. But his critique proved warranted when an Athenian jury found him guilty of impiety and corrupting the youth. So his warnings was all relayed through his students, especially Plato. And it came full circle then when the government he distrusted killed him. So he remained skeptical of their convictions to the end, defending his own activities and arguing that biases rather than a fair trial influenced the decision to punish him. When you speak the truth, you will be punished. You will be punished because you are opening the eyes and emancipating people from mental slavery. But one must not forget that demagogues tell lies. They misinform you, they manipulate you, and they go into political office for political gains. So it is that people who have never run a business become politicians and they are richer off the backs of the public and cannot account for it. But I digress. We are speaking about Socrates. So he gave his warning. And I want to say it again so you understand, and I'm going to move on. So a demagogue is a type of political leader who relies on prejudices, false promises, and charisma to manipulate voters into choosing them. The term arose from Greek in 5th century BCE. So Socrates was extremely worried that the democratic format would give rise to what is known as demagoguery, aka effery. So just as he feared the majority rule could lead to misinformed voting, and majority rule meaning that if 26% of the Jamaican population goes out to vote, the majority of that 26% has decided who will be your representative, who will spend your money, when budgets of $150 million to clean bushes will be allocated to the people that you pick. And he didn't trust that. And the result of it is he was brought to trial, embarrassed in the public, and sentenced to death for impiety and corrupting the youth for speaking the truth. That is the fear and dangers of democracy as according to Socrates. That is it. So, this is Reggae Month, and somebody says I'm talking about a particular leader. All I will say is this, to borrow from the words, and I always get in trouble when I quote artists, but to borrow from the words of the great Bob Marley, one of our future national heroes, who the cap fit, let them wear it. You see, I throw my corns, but I don't call any foul. The only foul that I interact with is in the KFC line after it is properly barbecued. So I will leave that for that. Now, I want to speak in relation to Plato, the student of Socrates, and as well as Aristotle, to give you their take on it. But Socrates says democracy is dangerous. So I don't make these things up out of my head, I'm saying when you are empowered and the Constitution does that, the Constitution do it, that's why they want to change it. If you get injustice in the Privy Council, they want to move from the Privy Council. And just to note, it is not Andrew Holness who wants to move from the Privy Council, it is Mark Golding. What Andrew Holness wants to do is to move from the Commonwealth, as in the king, the monarchy, so that they can have their own monarchy. Remove the Governor General so they can put their president and rule as they like in their demagoguery. So is a catch-22. So you have to do what works for you. But justice rush is justice crushed. Justice delayed is justice denied. But one thing I can tell you, if anybody remember who Jesus is, when you leave the democratic process to internal procedure, yes, They will close courts when it is great to do so because it is somebody of great importance. But then will open it out and put your name in the paper quick and diss you and miss you. That these are things that I want you to appreciate. So Socrates was murdered by the demagogues and the democratic process and the democratic jury. The good thing about it is Jamaica is a free and democratic society, and our constitution allows us to say, come and beg me for my vote. Tell me what you have for me. And they come in. If nothing else, some of you will have a shirt on your back with pictures on it, which is why I made the thing. Make sure that the picture that is on it, the people then look good. Because I will be the first to tell you, where you have on that shirt, that the ugly shirt there for? Favor kunu munu. I will say it. So we're going to now speak on Plato. So he developed his philosophy in ancient Greece during an early experiment in democratic government that threatened the power of his class. So he responded with an argument for rule by aristocratic elites that has appealed to conservatives ever since. So you see, even in this democratic society, when you heard that you couldn't vote unless you had property and unless you own land, just appreciate why when you hear me talk about the Constitution, it's so important. While it is that I agreed with Socrates that sometimes um, the utilitarian philosophy can be problematic in a democratic society if you have demagogues, because when the friend thing is almost like the famous people are the people who have all the likes on TikTok. Like when you come to my show, it's just 200 people come, but when me on Rattigan show are 2,000 people, and when me on Andre show are 20 million people. But notwithstanding that, it's not a popularity contest. It is for the future of the country, because we don't live forever. So can you imagine they say that somebody's child would be disenfranchised and denied the opportunity to greatness and the opportunity to serve because they want who they want in positions while they are alive, when all of them soon dead because them old? You have to wonder for stuff like that. But what about the next generation? What about young and bright? One of the reasons why the Prime Minister, Mr. the Honorable, Most Honorable Andrew Holness is your Prime Minister is because we said young and bright is right. Never ever forget that. And so the opportunity to give somebody else's child a chance, that's what it is. Time come. Local government election. If your councillor never did do nothing, especially when they're in the positions well after the Constitution allowed it. So many extensions, and so those representatives, you goodly not even like them. So the outcome will be what it is. Let us not forget COVID. But anyway, I digress. The other aspect of it now is he went on, so modern contemporaries now would be, all right, somebody said time come, like up the folks, yes. Marjorie Hastings says every wise words is very important. I said the fact that we are here is great. Blessings. Context matters, I tell you. Rosalie McLean, big up yourself. Yes, big up yourself. So, equally, then, my people, equally, one has to appreciate in all its glory what we know to be an aspect that we can appreciate in terms of when looking at the reality of situations or the context, is that Plato was of the view that is the aristocrats. So there was this thought that we are all of the same metal or of the same matter, but some are silver, some are gold, some are platinum, some are diamond, some is wood, some is water, some is straw, some is plastic. So you get in where you fit in. So it is that people had a problem with Jesus when he came in and he's the carpenter's son. How dare him behave like he's anything more than that? And the aristocrats are the persons who, through generations, they have pedigree, and it is they who should stay, even though they even if they don't have substance, they were born from the womb of that which is great, from kings and queens and great men. And so don't give the ghetto youth a chance. Don't give another person's child a chance, a son or a daughter of this nation a chance to do great before the innocence is gone. That is the beauty of newness. That is why we deal with newness, new car smell. Because if you know the beauty of having a new car every 5 years, you wouldn't have a problem doing what you need to do to vote. Get it right, or you just might not appreciate what is happening in the real space. But that's a matter for you, isn't it so? So again, just give me a second. Just let me. I'm mindful of the time. We only have 10 minutes in, and I just want to wrap this up properly. Right. So in modern commentators trace the emergence of Western philosophy back to Plato. So we do know that one reason for his enduring influence is the sheer breadth of his writings. So he, across his three dialogues, he tackles everything from theology, metaphysics, and epistemology to political theory and the nature of love, which we did last week, and the theory of language. Another reason is the undeniable depth of his thought process. Always have a big up Plato, because his respect for Socrates would have given works, because as I said, they murdered Socrates. Parmenides and Pythagoras in particular, these are his predecessors, and he broke new ground in many of the areas which was highlighted above. So he has a theory called natural order. So by the time he was writing in the early decades of the 4th century BCE, Athens had been a democracy for more than a century, 100 years. So he starts off with Solon's reforms in the early 6th century BCE and continue with the other reforms. But let me say, thousands of Athenian males won citizenship rights in the teeth of opposition from conservative aristocrats. So he was for the aristocrats, Plato, and he didn't like Socrates' position. So he always opposed Socrates. But even then, even as the members of the Eupatrade aristocrats, they objected to the upending of natural order of things, and they believe the natural order of things is, as I said, the same metal. If your father was a carpenter, you should remain a carpenter, and you should go fish if you're a fisherman. Don't try to be a lawyer if your father is just an entertainer. Don't try to be a politician if you are sweeping floors. You don't have that. So they don't care, as it must remain with the aristocrats. And his most famous influential work, which is The Republic, is a highly sophisticated argument against the democratic approach to government. Because he's saying it is only the elite must rule. They must be able to change the law and says, this is what is good for you. They said, oh, let's just keep local government as we choose. Let's just change the constitution as we like, because we would know what is best. Let's send them all up in the truck back. Let's label them menace to society, and let's label them violence contributors. When we lock them up, how could they get bail? Let us just change the bail act and ensure that we can have them pre-charged and we can fetter them out and ferret them out. But oh no, it's time to vote. Let us give bail. Let us not call states of emergencies. Let us ensure that they are around to vote. And those who are influential, let us do something. Let us label them. Let us call them gangs. Because certainly we have political parties, but they have gangs when the Constitution allow people to come together. Anyway, so Plato was a member of the Eupatridae on both sides of his family, and his father was a descended from the old kings of Athens, while his mother's family was even more prestigious, tracing its roots to the great Athenian lawgiver Solon. Members of Plato's family were also heavily involved in contemporary politics. So when he was in his early 20s, Plato's uncle and his mother's cousin led a coup against Athenian democracy in the aftermath of defeat in the Peloponnesian War. So he wrote about these events 50 years later, and he recounts how he initially supported this anti-democratic coup in the hope that its leaders would set the city back onto the path of justice. Instead, they acted with brutality, slaughtering their opponents and tearing up the rule of law. The rule of law is paramount. So you don't just change the constitution so it fits what you're doing now. You don't just change the rule of law, and you don't just say, okay, you want to kill, mandatory sentence, or you want to have a gun 15 years. You don't address the problem. You just do things that appear to look like it is important. So in this context, it is worth noting, it is worth nothing that the letter outlining Plato's opposition to his associates in Athens was actually written to exonerate his own record in the politics of Syracuse, where one of his long-standing supporters played a central role in turning a once vibrant democracy into a bloodbath of civil war and internecine violence, right? Um, so members of Plato Academy were also directly involved in the Syracuse bloodletting. So Plato's letters to the friends of Dion was essentially written to eulogize his protege, despite Dion's role in the cycle of violence, to denounce Dion's rivals as men whom Plato had tried and failed to turn into philosopher kings, and to exonerate Plato himself in view of the disaster that was unfolding for ordinary people. So when John Legend said, we're just ordinary people is who matters. I hear telling you context matters, but you matter. So when you get up, you have to say, I matter. Because one thing I can tell you, Plato, an aristocrat, I am now telling you I'm anti-Plato in his thoughts on democracy. I adopt what Socrates believed. And I believe that the Godfire approach to use truth to criticize so that people can wake up is the correct approach. We don't want to vote in demagogues, so we need the knowledge to know so that when we put our finger in the ink, it is for the betterment of the country, not for who we like, not for beautiful speaking, not for lies and trickery, but understanding that there will be people like Plato who never gave up his conviction that ordinary men and women were incapable of ruling themselves. He's saying you must be prestige. But no, what you must be is a person of integrity, honesty, compassion, empathy, and have the humility to serve, not demagogues. So, in spite of the killing and chaos that ensued, Plato never gave up his conviction. Yeah. And he says that ordinary people are incapable of ruling themselves. And he also retained his conviction that the easiest way to bring justice to the city state would involve converting autocrats into philosopher kings, and that the nature of such justice could only be truly discerned from Plato's own idealist philosophy. So here he's using a demagogue approach, and he's saying that we must label people, we must call people violence contributors, we must label people as gang members, and we must criminalize people. We must be in the business of turning ordinary citizens into criminals, and then say we don't have a system of rehabilitation, and reject people and use these things ad hominem to disenfranchise people so that we can maintain the status quo while we are alive. That is not what we look for. So in this season of voting, and we'll have more conversations on this if you so desire, at this time and in this season where we are voting, one must understand and be able to make mature consideration. Even now, even though election was in the air, we knew it was coming. Just recognize that the 25 days is what you have as a platform. There will be people who are parachuted. But ask the question, what are you going to do for me while you are begging me for my vote? Don't be like Isaac that would take a nice 6 piece of chicken right now, fully barbecue with 2 mashed potatoes on the side and an additional coleslaw. If the counselor in my division, run by Mr. Delroy Chuck in Constant Spring, come and tell me who there is and bring the chicken come so I can vote. Don't be a simpleton like me who can't cook. Be a little bit, have a little bit more substance. And know that it is your future that you are worried about, because long after you belch out that food, I get to pay a little rent. You have 5 years to change the status quo, and we want a better Jamaica where we can account for $1.7 trillion. You know how better this country would be if money being was used where it was supposed to use. But I am going to leave it there. I'm seeing they keep on telling somebody happy birthday, but I don't know whose birthday it is. So happy belated birthday to Echo, and big up yourself. And I want to thank every single person for watching. It is ironic, but because before they call or announce the local government, I just thought that it was the season for it because it's constitutionally due, and I wanted an opportunity to speak about it. I will touch things as they matter, as current affairs, and deal with it. But context does matter. This is the month where I said I will be having conversations and inviting persons to come and speak to me and tell me their thoughts. If you want, you are free to. In the last minute, let me just put it up. You are free to call or WhatsApp. And if you have an interesting topic, you can send it to me through the WhatsApp, and I might invite you on a guest. Because, like the Prime Minister said, every ghetto youth is a star, and big youth say every nigga is a star. I feel so that's why the two of them link up in an airport and I cut dub plate together, Then leave we in Jamaica, go over the diaspora, and then go up on tour, and then come back and bust big tune and dub plate. First dub plate for the year. Pick up yourself, big youth. So that was Context Matters. It was a beautiful show. You're tuned into Context Matters with Isaac Buchanan, the philosophy of democracy. Why vote? And this is Reggae Global Radio. You can catch us on the Global TV, on Apple TV, and other platforms. And of course, my YouTube. Big up yourself, my TikTok family, for tuning in. And I will see you guys next week. February nice, I'm excited. Yeah, next week. See you on the other side, right? Mate, context matters. That's that. The silence, you can hear a pin. I wonder if when we're going to vote, the place gonna be quiet like that. And then you just go in there and you say orange or green. And then you say, no, sir, but me look on this banner, this person and look too good. Look on them teeth. No, sir, then they couldn't press the shirt before they take a picture. Then couldn't go a hairdresser and fix up them hair. No, sir. That person don't even look like them beard and want to be counselor. That can't go on. So which this person come from? No, sir. So why them parachute this person? No, man. This rough. Let me look what Andrew said about this. Oh, no, sir. But Mark really picked this person here. Then what could have caused this now in the Jamaican space? That's why context matters.